Chapter 31 3 against 1, I have the advantage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The clear liquid splashed, the kunai in the girl's hand swelled, transforming into a 2-foot-long short sword. This was a technique that condensed water into a rotating blade, kinda like the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju's, water release, water blade slash. In a flash, she hurled the water blade, intercepting the powerfully thrown black spear. The spear veered off course, narrowly missing Uchiha's face, then, water release, water cut. The girl crouched, palms flat against the ground, using the water beneath her feet to slide under Uchiha. She scooped him up in a princess carry. Uchiha was stunned, catching a whiff of a sweet, floral scent, like seaside hibiscus. Before Uchiha could react, the leader of the evil god cult glared. Seeing the uninvited guest, he flung the remaining black spears, planted a foot, formed a sea seal with his hands, and prepared a ninjutsu. What are you spacing out for? Time to bail, that the girl's green eyes narrowed. She glanced down at the dazed Uchiha in her arms, frowned, and unceremoniously tossed him aside, nearly sending him sprawling. Then, she wove hand signs, ox snake ram, water release, hidden mist jutsu. A thick, white fog billowed out, engulfing the entire village. Uchiha felt someone grab his hand. The girl's voice rang in his ears. Move it. Go. Uchiha looked at the hooded girl. A strand of auburn hair escaped, framing her face like a sunset. He snapped back to reality, frowned, and jerked his hand away. I can't leave. That when he blocked the spear for Yuko, it had cut his palm. His blood was still there. The evil god cult could use it to activate the curse, death-controlling blood possession. Uchiha couldn't risk them knowing the core spell. If he ran now and got killed, it might be ruled a suicide, and that 500 million would vanish. From the moment he intervened, Uchiha never considered running. His eyes narrowed, Sharingan blazing red. He rapidly formed hand signs and slammed his palm onto the ground. Super Death Battle Barrier. This jutsu from Malloy was perfect for this. A light red barrier expanded, trapping the 3 members of the evil god cult and Uchiha himself. A cylindrical barrier shot skyward, pushing everyone else in the square out. This is my fight. Uchiha stood, eyeing the white fog, a smile playing on his lips. He narrowed his Sharingan eyes at the vague figures in the mist. He smirked. You like ambushes, huh? Then let's get round 2 underway. The girl, pushed back by the barrier, watched Uchiha and gritted her teeth in annoyance. Was he an idiot? She had just given him an opportunity to escape. Instead of running, he trapped himself with those cultists. He was making a suicide run. Haydn, also shoved aside, was stunned. "Ci, are you crazy?" he yelled. "If you attack the head of the evil god cult, they'll kill everyone in the village. Besides, you're just a genin. You can't win." Uchiha's eyes flickered. He gave Haydn a thumbs up and bellowed. "Don't worry. They won't leave this barrier before I die. Haydn, take this chance to get everyone out of here." Uchiha didn't wait for a response. He darted through the fog, weaving around his opponents. The red glow of his Sharingan left trails in the mist. Thanks to the girl's surprise attack, and the hidden mist technique, Uchiha had a shot. The leader of the evil god cult realized things were getting complicated. He calmly ordered, "He has the Sharingan. He can see in this fog. But we outnumber him. 3 against 1, we've got the advantage. Ma-do, use your wind release to clear the fog. Wu-si, protect the perimeter and me. I'll get his blood and use death-controlling blood possession to cripple him. Then we finish him." He lunged towards the black spear stuck in the ground. Ma-do started forming seals, preparing his wind release. Suddenly. 3 black shapes burst from the fog, hurtling towards them. Huh? Rocks? They were startled and stumbled back, breaking their stances, but it wasn't just rocks. This was advanced Uchiha-style shuriken jutsu. In Uchiha's hands, anything became a weapon. Uchiha circled the barrier, grabbing stones and branches, then yanked the spear from the ground and hurled it backhanded. The first few stones surprised them, then came the onslaught. They panicked. In 10 seconds, Uchiha threw 30+ rocks and a dozen sharpened branches, a dense barrage rained down. Ever seen bullet hell? Hidden among the vegetation and stones was the black spear, flying like a missile. The leader's pupils shrank. Mado, about to use wind release, took a spear through the chest. He collapsed, but Uchiha wasn't done. He dropped low, hand already weaving seals. Boar dog tiger hare rooster snake. Fire release, phoenix sage fire technique. The 6 fireballs, like feral beasts, shot forward. And then, he yanked 3 wires from his shriveled ninja pouch, tied them to 3 stones, and hurled them at the cult members. Then, hand signs. Snake dragon rabbit tiger. Fire release, dragon fire technique. He spat a stream of fire down the wires, lashing at them. Damn it! What's with this kid? The leader was losing his cool, eyes wide with horror. He felt a chill run down his spine. How was this kid so relentless? You think it's 3 of you against me? Uchiha sneered. Joke's on you. I'm the one who's got you surrounded. Chapter 32 The death of the curse depends on blood. Illusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 32, Spell, Death rides on blood. Illusion. Blam. 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 A storm of shuriken ripped through the air. Their trajectories were as unpredictable as falling petals, a murderous intent as sharp as a razor's edge. The sheer volume and precision of the throws were terrifying. Nobody present had ever seen shuriken skills like this. It was a real eye-opener, like getting smacked upside the head. Under the relentless barrage, the 2 members of the evil god cult scrambled for cover behind a crumbling wall. Even dodging at the last second, they couldn't escape unscathed. Boss, this guy's got serious firepower. That the leader of the evil god cult realized the situation was spinning out of control. All 3 of them had been rogue ninjas, Chunin level from the hidden rain village. Before joining the cult, they weren't weak, and it was still 3 against 1, theoretically, but Uchiha Ci, fueled by the Sharingan, his shuriken techniques, combined with fire ninjutsu, came in relentless waves. He was like a one-man machine gun, pinning them down, forcing them to retreat. Still, these guys knew how to survive in the war-torn land of rain. Even as they retreated, they stuck to their original plan. Now, the leader of the evil god cult grabbed the pitch-black spear from the ground and yelled. Wu Si, keep him busy. I'll start the ritual. The cultist called Wu Si nodded, his face grim. He gritted his teeth and charged out from behind the wall, hands already forming a seal: ox boar monkey rabbit rat pig rooster ox horse dog tiger snake ox monkey rabbit. He slammed his hand down. Water style, great waterfall technique. There were 2 versions of this jutsu, a basic version with 18 seals, and an advanced, A-rank version with only 3, but clearly, these ninjas from the land of rain only knew the basic version. His palm hit the ground, the earth cracked open, and a massive wave erupted, cresting at over 10 feet high. It crashed towards Uchiha Ci with overwhelming force. Extinguishing the scattered rocks and fire ninjutsu in its path, faced with such a large-scale attack, Uchiha Ci had to flip backward, jumping onto the roof of a nearby house to get out of the way. Wu Si immediately seized the opportunity. Using the water jutsu as cover, he pulled a pitch-black spear from his robe and charged toward Uchiha Ci. Meanwhile, the leader of the evil god cult had already drawn the triangle in a circle ritual on the ground. His eyes gleamed with manic energy. You forced my hand, kid. He stood with his arms outstretched, black lines spreading across his face until it was completely dark. Then, gripping the spear stained with Uchiha Ci's blood, he looked at his own thigh with savage anticipation, bared his teeth, and squeezed his eyes shut. Hands shaking, he raised the spear, thwack, the spear plunged into his thigh. Arg. His ferocious, insane, ecstatic scream echoed through the area. Feel the pain. Feel the agony. Feel the glory. This is the ritual of the evil god. This is ecstasy. Arg. The spell, Death Rides on Blood, is activated. Instantly, a wave of terror washed over Uchiha Ci. Every cell in his body screamed, warning him, danger. 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 It was as if a giant red death stamp had been branded on his forehead. The next instant, Uchiha Ci's heart pounded in his chest. His blood felt like a dam had burst, all rushing to one specific point. His right leg was suddenly hit by a phantom blow, and a gaping, four-finger-wide hole tore open in his flesh. Impossible to dodge, impossible to block, impossible to resist. Flesh ripped, blood sprayed. The excruciating pain forced his eyes wide open, his face twisting in agony. Uchiha Ci's right leg buckled, blood gushing freely. The pain was so intense he could barely stay upright. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this, the leader of the evil god cult was practically orgasming with madness. His triumphant laughter rang in Uchiha Ci's ears. Kid! Face reality. Even weak ninjas like us, using the evil god's ritual, can turn our hate into power that far surpasses yours. Tremble. Beg for mercy. Then, stand there and watch your pathetic self get stabbed through the heart, disemboweled. Torn to pieces. Finally, you'll understand. In this world, pain is power. That he immediately snapped his head toward his charging subordinate. Wu Si, kill him. Kill him for me. That the words barely left his lips before a wave of killing intent filled the air. A hulking figure lunged in front of Uchiha Ci, raising the pitch-black spear, aiming straight for Uchiha Ci's neck, a lethal blow. However, even in this desperate moment, after hearing the leader of the evil god cult's order, he that a low chuckle broke the tension. Uchiha Ci was smiling. He lifted his head, partially obscured by his hair, standing on the crumbling rooftop, looking down at the two members of the evil god sect, and his laughter grew louder, his lips stretched into a wild grin, his eyes wide. He was facing a deadly crisis, but his eyes burned with excitement. Ha 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 ha. Not bad, just what I needed. A ninja is a creature that endures pain. The more pain, the deeper the understanding, the greater the power. But, Uchiha Ci suddenly stopped laughing, fixing a cold stare on the two below, his voice like ice. What makes you think? Your pain is greater than mine. The words landed like a blow. Uchiha Ci lowered his eyelids, then snapping them open to meet the gaze of Wu Si, who was almost upon him. Look at me, you bastard. A solitary Tomo spun wildly in the crimson Sharingan, burning with madness. Anyone who dared to look into those eyes would be struck by their breathtaking, terrifying beauty. It's a genjutsu. Watch out, Wu Si, he's using Sharingan genjutsu. The leader of the evil god cult recoiled in alarm, shouting a warning. Wu Si immediately became cautious. Staring at Uchiha Ci, who stood frozen like a statue, he realized something was wrong. Was this the real thing, or just an illusion? Damn it, he couldn't tell the difference. Hesitation crept into Wu Si's attack. He leaped to the edge of the roof, spear raised, on high alert. He looked at Uchiha Ci, still frozen in the same pose, facing the wrong way. It's a genjutsu, it's a fake. But in that instant, Wu Si's world twisted, and the real Uchiha was suddenly upon him. He pulled out his last ninja tool, silk thread. Wrapping it around his fingers, he pulled it taut, creating a razor-sharp cutting edge. Uchiha Ci's face contorted in a savage grin. He surged forward, using a forgotten swastika-shaped grappling technique, locking the man in place. He clamped Wu Si's neck in the crook of his elbow, kicked out Wu Si's leg, throwing him off balance and sending him tumbling. He then locked his leg across Wu Si's arm, pinning his other foot against Wu Si's waist. His free hand tightened the silk thread, turning it into a deadly garrote. He brought it down with brutal force. Snick, Wu Si was dead. Then, Uchiha Ci staggered back, panting, dragging his barely functioning right leg. He limped, step by step, toward the leader of the evil god cult, his expression grim. He shook his head, a mirthless chuckle escaping his lips. This is the power of the Sharingan's illusion. Please read, recommend, and collect. Bang bang bang. Chapter 33, Tragic Victory, Resentment, and the Girl Under the Moon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was a shame to see Uchiha's Sharingan was so new, nobody taught him how to use those eyes. Forget about genjutsu, all he could manage was the observation aspect of the Magatama Sharingan. He couldn't even copy ninjutsu, just imitate taijutsu he'd seen. Uchiha Ci was really gambling with his life right then. If his opponent kept attacking with that spear, with one leg gone, and no teleportation, genjutsu, or substitution jutsu, he couldn't even set up a wood replacement in time. Uchiha Ci had nowhere to go, life or death hung by a thread, but somehow, despite not knowing any illusions, he tricked the guy into thinking he'd won the bet. Uchiha Ci dragged his right leg. Limping towards the cult leader, his face growing darker by the second, he gritted his teeth, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. This bunch of losers couldn't even beat each other if they tried. Did they even know what they were doing? You already used the death possession blood spell, why didn't you just stab yourself in the heart? You want to talk tough, but you're afraid to die. Go make a sacrifice already. Is he gonna die if he gets stabbed a few times? The cult leader looked terrified. He stared at Uchiha Ci, who was coming for him, and a cold sweat drenched his back. Unlike Haiden down the line, he didn't have the cult's weird immortal body. When he got stabbed, it hurt. Plus, to keep Uchiha Ci from moving, he hadn't even stopped the bleeding. He'd lost a lot of blood, and his face was pale as a ghost. The second the Tang people come, they should call for the professionals right away. Trying to hold back Uchiha Ci, he'd screwed himself over, too. So, the end result was, Uchiha Ci shuffled forward, a twisted smile on his face. He yanked the black spear out of the ground. Then he lunged, arm outstretched, like the rising of the full moon. Suddenly, the spear ripped through the air, carving out an arc like the moon. With one swing, he knocked the cult leader out of the ritual circle, breaking his death possession blood spell. Then, a black flash pierced his throat, pinning him to the ground for good. The cult leader was dead. At that moment, the system notification chimed in. Ding. You bravely fought back against an enemy trying to talk trash, but he's dead so he can't talk back. Counterattack was strong, reward crit. Obtained random skill from opponent, wind style, air current wild wave, proficiency, C. Skill critically hit. Current skill, wind style, air current wild wave, mastery, B. Obtained random skill from opponent, rope escape, E. Heart steel skill has leveled up. The reddish barrier that stretched into the sky vanished, and Uchiha gasped for air. Collapsing, his body was covered in dirt and water, the bloody hole in his right leg a gruesome sight. All around, silence. The villagers stared, stunned, as Uchiha Ci, outnumbered, took down the cult members one by one, but there were no cheers, no flowers, no praise. The woman holding the little girl, Yuko, looked at the unmoving cultists. Horror etched on her face, then, her face twisted in fear, driven by that fear, she stood up, pointed a finger at Uchiha, and snarled. You monster! What have you done? Do you even realize you just killed the cult leader? Do you know what this means for us? That she seemed to have lost all her strength. Leaning against the wall, she laughed and cried, her face contorted. It's over, it's over. We're all doomed. We're all going to die here. Die here. As if struck by a sudden thought, her expression turned savage. She threw Yuko aside and rushed forward, as if to vent all her anger, ready to claw Uchiha to pieces, but the hooded girl jumped in front of Uchiha, blocking the woman, her slender hand outstretched. She didn't say a word, just gave a cold look and made a hand seal. A spinning jet of water began to form in her palm. Get lost. Uchiha Ci couldn't focus on anything around him. He was dizzy from blood loss, gasping for breath, pale, and his limbs were freezing. He looked at his injuries and couldn't help but smile. This was bad. Without a medical ninja, he was a goner. Ci shook his head, trying to stand, but his vision went black and he fell. Just before his eyes closed, he saw Haiden dragging Shennong towards him. Uchiha Ci's smile froze, a flicker of panic in his eyes. Wait, crap, don't come any closer. Uchiha Ci suddenly remembered, Shennong was a medical ninja. He was one of the best in the world, second only to Tsunade. and could even use medical ninjutsu like the mystical palm technique. Meanwhile, elsewhere, outside Tangyan City, deep in the underground refugee camp, pools of blood, fields of bones, and a faint howl rising from the tunnels in the earth, the pale-faced bishop of the evil god cult, dressed in black robes, stood by the blood pool and abruptly turned his head. A cult ninja, equally pale, suddenly kneeled before him. "Sir, we found it." "Found what?" The bishop frowned, his gaze cold. The black-robed subordinate nodded, a sickly grin on his face. "We've located the child with the special physique you mentioned. I've sent 3 elites to the village. They should have the child in custody any minute. We might actually be able to create a monster with an immortal body." That the bishop narrowed his eyes and slowly smiled. "Excellent. Truly excellent. Lord Evil God will be pleased with this offering." But neither of them knew that a small, white-scaled snake was coiled up in the corner of the blood pool, silently watching everything. It flicked its tongue. That night, a cloudless sky, the full moon bathed the earth in clear light, a bonfire crackled, illuminating the wild night sky. Uchiha Ci slowly opened his eyes. The girl stood facing the wind, deep in thought. Looking off into the distance, hearing him stir, she turned around. Uchiha Ci recognized her, the girl with the green eyes. She'd taken off her hood, revealing a beautiful, delicate face. Strands of auburn hair framed her pale ears, while the rest was pulled back into a bun that curved like the moon, like an angel in the moonlight. "You're awake. Where am I?" Uchiha struggled to his feet and found that his body had been rebandaged. He tried to move his right leg, then stared blankly. It was healed. Still a little sore, but he could move again. "You beat those cult members to a pulp. The villagers weren't too thrilled to have you around, so we got kicked out." The girl crouched slightly, watching his expression. "Hey, I'm talking to you. Aren't you scared of dying?" Under her clear green eyes, Uchiha felt his face flush. He coughed and changed the subject. "Have you seen Haydn?" The words were barely out of his mouth when a resentful voice rang out nearby. "Ci, you bastard, I'm going to kill you. Please read, recommend, and follow." Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 34. Then let me be your evil god. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not far off, the hot-headed kid's eyes were bloodshot. He flung the firewood from his hands, sending it crashing to the ground. He stormed over and grabbed Uchiha Ci by the collar. Haydn was a mess, tears streaming down his face, sniffing hard. He looked like a kicked puppy, but his eyes blazed with fury. He yanked Uchiha Ci's collar, yelling, "Do you even realize what you've done? We were supposed to join the Jansenists together. We had a future, a real shot. Why? Why did you have to stomp on my dreams, grind my hopes into the dirt like they were nothing?" Haydn's voice cracked, turning into a sob. "Why? Tell me, why would you do this? I thought we were friends." The raw early spring wind whipped at their faces, and the firelight glinted off the misty air. Sparks crackled from the dying bonfire. Haydn hung his head, looking like a guy who just struck out looking for his first job, like he was back home, trying to figure out what went wrong. Only to realize the reason he didn't get hired was because the friend who swore they'd succeed together suddenly stabbed the owner. For Haydn, who was bitterly disappointed by the failings of Amigakure and desperately wanted to join the Jansenists to bring glory back to the land of rain, it was a total gut punch. Uchiha took a deep breath and gently pried Haydn's hand from his collar. This was the second time Haydn had saved his ass, and he could understand where Haydn was coming from. It was a lot like his own attempt to self-destruct and take out those cloud ninja, only to end up with some random scroll, getting tackled and roughed up by Sonin, and losing everything in the process. That same yearning, that same crushing despair. Back then, Uchiha Ci was ready to off Malloy. Imagine showing up for a job interview in your best suit, having prepped for months, only to find the place raided for running a brothel. Then, you get home, bummed out, and your mom hands you a toilet brush and tells you to scrub the can. Only, when you get to the bathroom, the toilet's the size of a football field and filled with crap. The difference between what you expected and what you got couldn't be bigger. The land of rain was that football field full of crap. And now, this cocky kid Haydn, no special bloodline, no killer jutsu, no money, no connections, didn't even have a toilet brush. Uchiha Ci looked straight at Haydn, inhaled deeply, and asked seriously, Haydn, do you really want to join the Jashinists? Is that your dream, your ambition? Do you want to become the next demigod to restore the land of rain, or do you actually believe in that crap about an evil god? Haydn looked like he'd been slapped upside the head. He exploded, what do you know? Ci, or whatever, Uchiha Ci, you're a ninja from a big clan in a big country like Konoha. What could you possibly know? The land of rain is stuck between the big guys. We've got nothing. No power, no hope, no say. So we have to rely on Jashin. Pray for him to come and wipe the slate clean. That's the only way to save this hopeless mess. Uchiha Ci's eyes hardened. He asked, his voice low, so, all you want is a future where the land of rain is saved. Just the power to make it happen. That's the evil god you need. Am I right? Haydn hesitated, then shook his head with a sneer. You gonna try to talk me out of it, just like my Jounin sensei? His eyes turned cold as he looked at Uchiha Ci. Uchiha Ci, that all sounds real nice. Only a ninja from a big country, a big village, a big clan like yours can spout such pretty words. Bright future, immense power, all that inspiring crap. But who's gonna give it to me? Unless I get down on my knees and beg like a dog, who's gonna give me any strength? A fierce glint flashed in Uchiha's eyes. He shot out a hand, jammed 2 fingers up the kid's nostrils, and gave him a hard shove. Haydn didn't see it coming, he went down hard, flat on his back, staring up at Uchiha Ci. Uchiha's eyes snapped open, his Sharingan blazing red. He leaned over Haydn, straddling him on the grass, his eyes locked on his. Then, Uchiha Ci's voice was unwavering, I'll give it to you. You want power? I can be your power. You want a future? I can build it with my own hands. Since you're desperate, helpless, crying, and convinced you're powerless, that you can't do anything, that you're doomed. Then you might as well stand behind me. Stay right there, watch closely, and let me take your ambition and make that dream of yours a reality. Uchiha Ci raised his hand like a sword and slammed it hard against Haydn's forehead. He shouted with absolute conviction, let me be your evil god. Uchiha Ci's words rang out, hitting Haydn like a hammer blow. Haydn's eyes glazed over. The words had torn him open, blown away his defenses. Then, without him even realizing it, a single tear trickled down his chin and splashed on the damp ground. Here in the land of rain, no one had ever, in such certain terms, told Haydn that his dream was right. Everyone had only ever told Haydn, run away. Those who we can't defeat can become Lord Jashin's dog, and this guy, he was rejecting all of it. He was even arrogant enough to take Haydn's dream right out of his uncle's hands, something no one had ever done. Uchiha's words, he was a complete nutcase, so cocky it was unreal. Haydn opened his mouth, swallowed a gulp of tears, and stared blankly at Uchiha Ci. He watched the black commas slowly spinning in those scarlet eyes. Those commas seemed to embody the strongest will in the world. Under that intense gaze, his throat suddenly felt dry and his scalp began to tingle. All the negative thoughts he could muster seemed weak and meaningless. Finally, sounding defeated, he whispered, why? You're just a genin, an Uchiha with a single Sharingan, just cannon fodder in this third shinobi world war that's tearing the world apart. Why the hell do you have the guts to say something like that? Uchiha frowned and glanced at the line on his panel with some guilt. Employee, Uchiha Ci. Insurance status, paid. Then he coughed twice. He spoke righteously, please collect, recommend, and read. This is really important for me who has no ability to push money, and only has a toilet pusher, thanks to my adoptive fathers, Musasa and Xie Hongji, for their 2 monthly passes, thanks to my adoptive father supplier, Fugue, for providing me with a monthly pass. Thank you for your recommendation votes. Bang bang bang. Chapter 35. I want to use my eyes to light up the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Haydn, you still remember what your ninja code is? Uchiha Ci locked eyes with the punk in front of him, his gaze intense. Haydn looked away, mumbling, my ninja way. That's right. Your ninja way. You used to puff out your chest, point at yourself with your thumbs all confident. You'd yell about how a nobody like you was gonna become the Yuckage, end the chaos in the Rain Village, kick out all the ninjas, and become the next demigod. Uchiha Ci smirked, needling him. That's what you said. You need me to jog your memory further. Haydn looked embarrassed, a mix of emotions on his face. Well, that was just. Uchiha cut him off, his tone hardening. You gonna say it was just talk? Empty promises? Lies? That the real world's a lot harsher. He grabbed Haydn's collar, the tomo in his Sharingan swirling with power. Don't be a fool. Denying your heart, your will, your dreams, accepting reality, filling your head with pipe dreams, walking yourself to the gallows, and shaking your head in front of someone stronger than the Rain Village itself. What's the difference between that and being dead? Wait, Haydn sputtered, trying to defend himself, to justify his actions, to convince Uchiha, to convince himself that he was doing the right thing, the only thing he could do, but he couldn't find the words, because deep down, he knew that the evil god religion's goal, to stop killing by killing everyone, was just a self-destructive solution. Uchiha sighed, his voice weighty. Haydn. You're strong, you're ready to die, willing to sacrifice yourself for the evil god's grace. But let me tell you, that's just an escape. Uchiha Ci's words hit Haydn like a hammer, shattering the walls he'd built around his heart. Strip away the pretty lies of the evil god cult, and all that's left is a pile of crap. He couldn't deny the truth anymore, his face flushed, veins popping on his forehead. He grabbed Uchiha's hand, trying to pry it off his collar, but he was no match for Uchiha Ci, now a genin. Finally, he just yelled, enough. Uchiha Ci, that's enough. Get out of here. I don't want your pity. I don't need your lectures. I've heard enough of that garbage in the land of rice fields these past 10 years. How could you understand what I've been through, what I'm feeling? Oh, right, you're a super ninja, I forgot. Doesn't that high and mighty attitude disgust you? But Uchiha Ci just smiled at Haydn's outburst. Oh, really? That he yanked Haydn up by the collar and slammed him to the ground, his expression turning fierce, like the final boss of a video game. He was about to crush the newbie hero and his pathetic dreams. Uchiha Ci's eyes flashed. Listen up, kid. I'm not lecturing you, I'm proving to you. My ninja way is better than yours. Uchiha let go of Haydn, stood up, and gazed at the full moon in the night sky, his eyes growing distant. He paused, then looked down, saying calmly, Haydn. The Rain Village you see is just a tiny corner of the ninja world. Your goal is just a small part of my path. Something I'll accomplish eventually anyway. And my ninja way. Uchiha Ci activated his Sharingan, scarlet eyes burning in the dark. His voice changed, becoming cold and detached. Is to overthrow the existing 5 great nations, unify the entire ninja world, and end the endless wars that have plagued us since the Warring States period. To bring eternal peace to this world. This is what I have to do, even if it means facing death itself. I'll use my eyes to light up the whole world. Silence descended. Haydn's eyes widened in shock, as did the girl with the long brown red hair, and Shennong, who'd been sitting silently in the corner, almost invisible. Their gaze shifted to Uchiha Ci, something in Ci's words had resonated with them. Haydn swallowed hard, staring at Uchiha Ci in disbelief. Hold on a sec. Before Haydn could speak, the girl with the brown red hair stood up from the tree stump, looking at Uchiha Ci as if he were some delusional maniac. Then, she said coldly, what are you going to do to achieve this ninja way? What makes you think you can do this? What gives you the confidence to accomplish something no one ever has? You're talking about going up against the 5 great nations and the entire ninja world. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the strongest Hokage, the 3rd Raikage AI, who possesses the strongest shield and spear, the 4th Kazekage, who has surpassed the limits of bloodlines and reached a new realm, the Sannin, the demigods, the tailed beasts, the Jinchuriki. All these famous ninja and legendary beings wouldn't dare make such a bold claim. So why you? The girl's words were sharp and cutting, a knife aimed right at Uchiha's throat. giving him no room to maneuver, but Uchiha Ci didn't try to evade, he was born to be a strong man, his path was set from the beginning. So he spoke with conviction and certainty. It's not about talking, it's about doing. It's not about running away. No one starts at the top. No matter how hard it is, you take it one step at a time. Then, he looked at Haydn, who was still stunned, and said calmly, Haydn, I'm no different from you. Compared to the entire ninja world, all I have is this insignificant life. But all I need to do is stay on this path. As long as I'm at the front, countless others will follow. Even if I fall, there will eventually be thousands more to take my place. Uchiha's voice was unwavering, his eyes locked on the future, and he said without a moment's hesitation, One day, this dream will come true. And I've already taken the first step. Now, it's just the second step. Starting with the Rain Village. Starting right here. I will end the chaos in this land. And bring peace to this country. Please collect, recommend, and read. Bang bang bang. You have accepted a new mission, to end the Tangyen rebellion with your own hands. Keep reading. Chapter 36 Declaring War on Your Future Self. Embark on a road of loneliness and death. You are listening at unveiled.audio. As Uchiha finished speaking, a gust of wind swept away the moonlit mist, fanning the bonfire into a roaring blaze. Sparks flew, crackling in the air, the young man's profile, bathed in the full moonlight, was etched into the eyes of the three onlookers. He was wrapped in bandages, looking like he'd just limped off the battlefield, but the arrogant tilt of his lips hinted at a captivating handsomeness. The girl with reddish-brown hair, her green eyes momentarily lost in Uchiha's confident grin, seemed drawn into his grand vision. Snapping back to reality, a playful smile touched her lips. Oh. In that case, I'll acknowledge you as my rival. Uchiha Ci, she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, her green eyes reflecting the moon as she carefully chose her words. Then, she smiled. Let's properly introduce ourselves. My name is Ming, Moon Palace Ming. This might sound shocking, but neither of us is ready for the ninja world's brightest stage. But, she continued, if you're crazy enough to dream of conquering the world, then we'll meet again on the battlefield. A gentle yet serious gleam shone in her green eyes, though a hint of ruthless calculation flickered beneath the surface. Until then, I won't show you any mercy. Uchiha Ci, his Sharingan still active, saw every nuance of expression on the girl's face. The name, the hair, the look, and the fierce will. He finally understood who she really was. Moon Palace Ming, or rather, Terumi Mei, the future fifth Mizukage. The powerful kunoichi who would master the unique dual Kekkei Genkai and end the bloody blood mist era. Uchiha Ci almost laughed. Looking at Terumi Mei's cute, childish face, he nearly blurted out, "You're actually pretty cool." This weird feeling of suddenly making a powerful enemy who's threatening to scatter his ashes was, honestly, a little thrilling. But, he thought, couldn't we hold off on the ashes part for a bit? That he raised his eyebrows, his tone a mix of strange, arrogant, and slightly annoyed as he challenged, "Is that a declaration of war?" Terumi Mei shook her head, a hint of regret in her voice. Uchiha Ci, I saw your fight in the village. It was impressive. With your shuriken skills, your fire release techniques, and your last-minute combat IQ, you'd be considered talented even in my village. But, I'm sorry. You're not on my level yet. And you're definitely not on the level of those even stronger than me, the true geniuses of our generation. Konoha's Minato Namikaze, Kirigakure's Mangetsu Hozuki, Sunegakure's Missing Sasori of the Red Sand, Kumogakure's Killer Bee, they're the trendsetters of the ninja world. Their talents are even enviable to me. Terumi Mei paused, her clear green eyes now serious. With your ambition and the Uchiha name, you might catch up someday. Think of it as me declaring war, on the future you. The wind carried her words, the determination within them shining in the moonlight. Uchiha Ci felt a bit helpless. Terumi Mei, being Kirigakure's prodigy, likely controlled her 2 Kekii Genkai by now. Whether it was lava release or boil release, she could wipe the floor with him. If she turned hostile, he'd have an excuse to fight her. Get a quick exit and a hefty inheritance to enjoy back home. But you can't exactly hold a knife to her throat and demand she kill you, but he thought, she probably won't have to wait that long. He chuckled inwardly, thinking he'd just defect to the evil god cult. A row of knives awaited his neck, Terumi May wouldn't even get to scatter his ashes. Still, he wouldn't miss this opportunity, consider it a safety net. He met Terumi May's gaze, a confident smile spreading across his face. Very well, Moon Palace Ming. Then I'll look forward to the day you try to kill me. I hope that when you try to stop me, you can at least give me a good time. Uchiha Ci's words hit Terumi May like a ton of bricks. Her mind raced. Look forward to, that day, stop, enjoy, the words combined and rearranged themselves into a love confession that made her face burn. She blinked rapidly, her clear green eyes wide, her small ears turning a bright shade of red. She turned away sharply, feigning annoyance. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to enjoy it. Uchiha Ci's smile faltered. Is she blushing like crazy? I was just trying to set a date for my own demise. Too late now, you won't even get near my ashes. Why is she acting so tsundere all of a sudden? That he shook his head, not daring to dwell on it. He turned to Haydn, who had finally managed to stand up, and clapped him on the shoulder with a grin. Then, his expression turned serious. Haydn. The evil god cult isn't the answer. Killing everything around you won't solve anything. In fact, the cult is a threat to the land of rice. It's a parasite clinging to our country, draining its lifeblood, kidnapping children for twisted rituals. It's only speeding up our decline. I think you're smart enough to understand that. Haydn nodded, falling silent, the light seeming to fade from his eyes. He knew it, but it didn't make it any easier to cut off the arm of a strong man. Because of the war and the inaction of the land of rice ninja and nobles, the evil god cult had grown arrogant and strong on this land and it had become an uncontrollable trend. Haydn was not even a genin. The only choice he could make was to choose the lesser of two consequences. Seeing Haydn's realization, Uchiha Ci smiled, happy to see his friend's awakening. He was saying all of this because he hated owing people. Haydn had saved his life twice, and he needed to repay the debt. The best way to do that was to keep Haydn away from the evil god cult. Haydn was book-smart, aware of the world around him, and perceptive, even intelligent. This Haydn was a far cry from the crazy idiot he'd become. Uchiha Ci suspected the cult's bloody rituals were the cause. There was a price for making a deal with the devil. Of the many experimental subjects, only Haydn, tortured to the brink of madness, had managed to please the evil god and gain immortality. But he'd sacrificed his sanity in the process, becoming a mindless killing machine, butchering the rice ninjas who had raised him. It was a tragedy that Uchiha Ci would never let happen again. Hey, don't look so down. Aren't I here? Uchiha Ci laughed, slapping Haydn on the back. I said I'm going to bring peace to this country, and I mean it. I'll take care of the problems the rice ninjas are too afraid to face. I'll kill the people the rice ninjas are too afraid to kill. I'll destroy the evil god cult the rice ninjas are too afraid to provoke. Just stay behind me and watch me shine. Uchiha Ci draped an arm over Haydn's shoulders, giving him a friendly punch on the chest. That's enough. Uchiha Ci released Haydn, turned, and began to walk away. No need to see me off, Haydn. Go home and wait for good news. He raised a hand in farewell. He stood alone, facing the moonlight, passing the three others, stepping toward a lonely and dangerous path. Chapter 37 The Flaming Sword, The Forbidden Art of Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, look, this isn't just about kicking butt. It's a delicate operation, especially when you're talking about screwing with country's budget. Out on the battlefield, sure, go wild. But when you're playing solo, you gotta watch your back. Rushing into off someone just because they're annoying, forcing their boss to step in and finish you off. That's not insurance fraud, that's plain stupid, even if you know they're bad news and gonna screw things up, so what if they're messing with the land of Tang? What's that to ninjas from the land of fire? You gotta be patient. Being a ninja isn't about good or evil, it's about who you're working for. The evil god sect will go on a killing spree, yeah, but are the Uchiha angels in disguise? Obito's an idiot now, but he's going to be the mastermind behind the whole mess later, so, if Uchiha wants to fight evil, scam people, he needs to figure out where he stands. The land of fire, Konoha ninjas, the Uchiha clan, none of them give a rat's behind about the country's suffering civilians, but if he's Heiden's big bro, the savior, and just trying to keep his little bro out of trouble, and the evil god cult attacks him first, then, as a good brother, he gets pissed. And storms their headquarters to kick butt. And then, tragedy. He dies because he underestimated his opponent. Now that's a righteous cause that'll make you weep, but that's not all, he's got the even bigger mission of Macho Man from heaven fixing history and changing the world. This is it, he's like Zhuge Liang ready to roll, he's got everything but the green light. Yeah, Uchiha never claimed to be a saint, it's all part of the plan. The full moon hangs high, bathing the fragrant wilderness in a soft, ghostly light. After saying goodbye to the trio, Uchiha heads into the wind. He's bandaged up, wearing his old Ninja Academy overalls, and his ninja pouch is empty. After dealing with the Kumobikure guys and the evil god cultists, he's ditched every single ninja tool, not even a stray thread left. He even gave Saikairo the one-use ninja cat contract that could have come in handy. His equipment slot is completely bare, so, a genin with absolutely nothing charging into the evil god cult's lair. Sounds like a suicide mission, since death is pretty much guaranteed. Uchiha figures he might as well go all in. After all, he promised Haiden he'd take care of that evil cult. Time to deliver. Uchiha thinks for a sec and pulls out the scroll Elder Uchiha Setsuna left him. Uchiha style, S-class forbidden swordsmanship secrets. He unrolls it, eyes one technique, and starts to think, this scroll is S-class not because the swordplay is fancy or powerful, or even hard to learn, it's because one of the ninjutsu techniques inside is an A-level difficulty, fire release chakra mode. Think of it like the 8 gates formation, or Rakich's lightning armor. Those are unique skills perfected by those families and villages. Metadai opened the 8 gates of death, and the Rakich's lineage uses the secret lightning armor. Even Kakashi's lightning blade and Four-Tailed's lava style are similar, all boosting physical abilities. Anything involving body-enhancing ninjutsu is serious business, so, if lightning release can be done, why not fire release? It all comes down to physical endurance. Basically, enhancing the body with ninjutsu means boosting cell metabolism. Lightning release is like injecting a shot of adrenaline, it boosts you, but the side effects are manageable. Fire release, though, burns your cells. There's no question of whether you can do it, it's a question of whether you'll survive. Four-Tailed's lava style works because he's a Jinchuriki. His lava release is more like a tailed beast cloak, but the Uchiha, being fire experts, have copied countless ninjutsu. Their basic ninjutsu knowledge rivals even the second Hokage. So they've studied this power-up technique. With the Sharingan, they can control fire chakra at a microscopic level, burning cells and extracting power. That's how this A-level ninjutsu was born, and it's the core of this S-level forbidden technique, but because of the inherent risk, you can only control it for a short time. You trade the pain of burning your body for a short burst of uncontrollable power, use it up, and you're toast, literally burned out. Over time, the technique became useless and was shelved. Sure, it worked, but the power wasn't worth it. A casual swing with a Gundam does the same thing. If you want to learn it without a Gundam, you better be sure you've got what it takes. Playing with fire is dangerous. Without guidance from someone who's mastered it, you'll probably burn yourself to death during practice, and is a fatal blow worth that price? Even an Uchiha with Izanagi would hesitate. Setsuna Uchiha used this technique, conjured a 40-meter flaming sword, and swung it a few times. The old man still not right in the head, but Uchiha stares at the scroll, swallowing hard. After reading the technique's description, he's practically vibrating with excitement. He looks like a fatsy cultist seeing the great white bear himself. His eyes are glowing. This. Damn, isn't this exactly what he needs? Setsuna had Izanagi to fall back on, so he could burn himself and come back for more, but Uchiha doesn't have a Izanagi, or even a 3-tomo Sharingan to use as Izanagi. One knife, and that's it. He's going down in flames. It's a one-stop funeral service, straight to the crematorium. He's even taking the crematorium with him. He'll be cremated faster than light. He can't even imagine losing. Tell me how I can possibly lose. Hands on hips, overflowing with pride. Chapter 38 Forbidden Magic Practice, Follow the Light. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Half an hour later, on a massive boulder, Uchiha Ci finished transcribing the scroll's contents. Without hesitation, he performed hand seals, unleashing a fireball to incinerate the scroll instantly. Then, he sat cross-legged, closing his eyes. He focused entirely on his breathing. With each inhale and exhale, the early spring wind's whistle faded into the background. Gradually, his heartbeat grew louder. Like thunder, the full moon hung behind him, illuminating the sprawling wilderness. Bathed in the cold light, Uchiha Ci's eyes snapped open, crimson eyes with rotating tomo. His vision seemed to slow down. He focused intently on his chest. Under the Sharingan's gaze, a wisp of fire attribute chakra, fully transformed, erupted from his heart. Blazing flames engulfed his body. Uchiha Ci felt as if he were reliving his confrontation with Kumogakure, the detonating tag's flames, scorching his body and mind. This time, the intense power was contained within his body, like a compressed depleted uranium bomb ready to detonate. Any second, a mushroom cloud could erupt. Sizzle, star. His body crackled and popped under the intense heat. A sharp, stabbing pain shot through his heart. Uchiha Ci's pupils constricted, cutting off the chakra flow immediately. A notification appeared before his eyes. You have mastered fire release, chakra mode, entry, A, extremely dangerous. Whoosh star. Steam rose from Uchiha Ci's body. He gasped, shaken to the core. If he hadn't mastered Elder Setsuna Uchiha's advanced silk shuriken technique, and lacked precise control over his body, realizing the danger, he would have been dead, and it would have been suicide. Definitely dangerous. And irreversible. Once it fully ignites, the chakra will burn itself, triggering a nuclear-like chain reaction. No turning back. Uchiha Ci was still shaken. The pain subsided, and he exhaled a long, white breath, pushing himself up. Opening his stats panel, employee, Uchiha Ci. Title, a strong man descended from the sky. Talents, Steel of the Heart, SSS, Sharingan, Single Tomo, B+, Combat Intuition, Entry, S. Skills, Uchiha Style, Silk Shuriken Technique, Excellent, S. Super Death Fighting Barrier, Mastery, S. Fire Release, Great Fireball Technique, Basic, C. Fire Release, Phoenix Sage Fire Technique, Proficient, C. Fire Release, Crimson Claw, Mastery, B. Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique, Beginner, C. Wind Release, Vacuum Wave, Proficient, B. Transformation Technique, Body Flicker Technique, Basic Taijutsu, Proficient. Special Skills, Fire Release, Chakra Mode, Entry, A. Extremely Dangerous. The number of layers of the strength of the heart has been superimposed, can be expanded. Insurance status, paid. Seeing Fire Release Chakra Mode on the panel, Uchiha Ci felt relieved. Besides this core technique, the scroll also contained a sword technique called Halo Dance, requiring weapons made of chakra metal. On its own, it was only a B-rank technique. But with Sharingan, Genjutsu, chakra metal ninja swords, Fire Release, and Chakra Mode, it could be combined into an ultimate S-rank technique. Uchiha Shursui had mastered the sword technique, but because Uchiha Setsuna was dead, he never mastered Fire Release and Chakra Mode. But for Shursui, who had high potential, it was fine. Uchiha Ci looked up at the full moon. He inhaled deeply, his gaze hardened. Now that everything was in place, that he needed to head to the evil god headquarters and cause a ruckus. But you're going alone. A familiar voice came from behind, questioning and angry. You're gonna say some nice words and then run off to die. Uchiha Ci, who are you running from? You want your ideals to end in this backwater country? Hey! Answer me, Uchiha Ci whirled around, a fist flew at his face. His instincts kicked in, dodging the blow. He saw Heiden's angry face. He lowered his guard. Heiden seized the chance, grabbing Uchiha's neck with the bandages, and slamming him against the boulder. Thump, star. Heiden's eyes were bloodshot as he cursed, "Damn it, talk to me." "What?" Uchiha was stunned. He had asked Heiden to go home, but he had followed him in under an hour, and he looked ready to beat him up. "What are you doing? You're really annoying. I've had enough of this crap." Uchiha Ci. "Without me, how are you gonna find the evil god cult's headquarters?" Uchiha was dumbfounded. A serious question popped into his head. Where was the evil god cult's headquarters? Uchiha frowned, shoving Heiden off. "Stop screwing around, Heiden. Even without you, I can grab some evil god follower and get them to talk." Uchiha shook his head. "You're just in time. Tell me the location of the headquarters, and your mission is done. I'll barely give you some credit for wiping out the evil god cult. You can brag to the Rain Ninja when you go back home, saying that you fought alongside Lord Uchiha. How does that sound? Do you feel good about yourself?" Heiden blinked, shocked. How could anyone be so shameless? He was going to use that to get information out of him. "Give me back the big brother I looked up to. You jerk." Heiden shoved Uchiha's hand away. "I'm going with you. TSK." Uchiha's head throbbed. "Why can't you listen to me?" That he understood what Setsuna Uchiha felt when he refused to let him go on missions. He knew that Heiden had no insurance, so what was the point of doing reckless things? Heiden shook his head. "I'm going with you. Uchiha Ci, I want to watch you. See if you're qualified to become my evil god." Heiden inhaled deeply, his eyes determined. The light that Uchiha Ci had shattered seemed to shine brightly in his eyes. "It's like you said, right? I want the right evil god. Whether it's you or some guy from the evil god cult, it doesn't matter. I want to end the chaos in the Rain Village, drive out all the big shot ninja, and become the next demigod. This is my ninja way." Heiden looked at Uchiha Ci with high spirits. "So first, how about we get rid of the evil god sect?" Uchiha Ci looked at Heiden in silence, although at this time he felt a little touched in his heart, but reason told him that if Heiden went to the headquarters of the evil cult, history would probably repeat itself, or even worse, and just when he was about to reject Heiden, a sweet sound like a silver bell suddenly sounded from behind. "Then let him follow, Heiden. I promised for him." Uchiha was stunned and turned his head. There, he saw, the girl with clear green eyes looked tall. She stood in the falling moonlight, with a faint smile on her lips. Then, he slowly opened his lips and said in a loud voice. "Besides, I'm going too." Chapter 39. The team is formed to challenge Shennong. You are listening at unveiled.audio. When Mei Terumi said she was joining us, Uchiha Ci was taken aback. He's generous, but he's not dense. He knew Terumi Mei, a Kiri prodigy, wasn't some lovesick puppy dogging after him. It wasn't like his buddy Heiden being drawn in by his cool factor. Lately, Kirigakure had been in a minor spat with Sunagakure, which was still reeling from losing the third Kazekage. Raza and Hayakura were using this time to compete for the fourth Kazekage title, plus, Iwagakure, longtime rivals of Kirigakure, were gearing up to cross the sea and launch an attack. A brutal battle was brewing. One that could bury Kirigakure altogether, like what almost happened in the Third Shinobi World War. Think of the Battle of Green Lair Reef and Mist, but here's the weird part: instead of being in the village or on the front lines during all this chaos, Terumi Mei, Kirigakure's top talent, was undercover in the Land of Rivers, and it looked like she was setting her sights on the evil god cult, aiming to snag something. Uchiha frowned and looked at Terumi Mei, sensing a storm quietly brewing beneath the surface of the already messed up Land of Rivers. Terumi Mei, catching Uchiha Ci's stare, blushed slightly, looked away, and blurted out, "What are you looking at? Don't get the wrong idea. I was targeting the evil god cult way before you were. I've got my own mission to complete." Her voice dropped, and a serious look lit up her bright green eyes. "I need to find someone. If I can't, my village could be in big trouble." Uchiha paused, but without all the details, he couldn't figure out who she was after. One thing was for sure though, the situation was complicated, too deep for a genin like him to understand. Even Panzagotzi would have trouble untangling it. Besides, Haydn was like a clingy toddler right now. With Mei Terumi around, maybe she could help keep him in line. Uchiha Ci had the super death battle barrier, so he wasn't worried about Terumi Mei getting in his way. He could just yell, "Welcome to manly land," then slap the ground, shove his teammates aside, and take on the enemy solo. Under their horrified gazes, he'd unleash his secret fire style and chakra mode. Not even a god could save him then. Uchiha grinned, running the scenario through his head, but no matter how he played it, it ended with him dying. After thinking it over, Uchiha looked at the two of them and finally nodded reluctantly. "Fine, let's go together." Haydn and Mei Terumi exchanged glances and smiled, but then, a voice said, "If you're all going, why not take me along?" That it was a familiar voice from behind. The three of them turned, surprised. Haydn even exclaimed, "Mr. Shennong." Shennong, who had been silent and almost invisible, stepped forward. "I'm a medical ninja. I could be useful." Wearing a brown hoodie, a light yellow coat, and a huge red dot on his forehead, Shennong walked forward slowly, his eyes calm and his tone even. Uchiha Ci's eyes narrowed as he gave Shennong a cold look. The leader of the empty ninja village, disguised as a traveling doctor, had been following them. He was clearly up to no good. There was no reason for the villagers to run him out of town if he was a doctor, but he had still followed the three of them. More specifically, he had followed Haydn. Uchiha didn't believe that there was no plan here. "I appreciate you healing my injury, Mr. Shennong, but the evil god cult is not a safe place. For your own sake, you should stay behind," Uchiha said flatly. "Uchiha Ci, right?" Shennong frowned slightly and sighed. "You don't need to be so cautious. We're not enemies, and I'm not a threat to you." He glanced at Terumi Mei. "Just like this girl, I have my own reasons to go. All I need is a bit of information to get results. I won't interfere in whatever you're doing. I'll just observe from the sidelines. And if you get injured, I can help you heal. So, you don't have to be so wary of me." Finally, Shennong's calm face turned stern, a hint of a threat in his voice. "Besides, if I decide to come along, there's nothing you can do to stop me on your own. Wanna bet? Shennong isn't just underestimating you, he's provoking you." Uchiha Ci's eyes went sharp, and without another word, he grabbed Terumi Mei's ninja pouch from her waist, pulled out a handful of kunai, and threw them at Shennong's face. Then, he kicked up a cloud of dust and charged towards Shennong, using the dust as cover. Uchiha dropped low and moved sideways, spinning a kunai between his fingers. He held the deadly flower with his backhand and thrust it hard at Shennong's temple. The kunai and dust from the front arrived almost at the same time as the sneak attack from the side. Even a regular jonin would barely have time to react to such a lightning-fast, coordinated assault. The moment of crisis. Haydn and Terumi Mei stood frozen, eyes wide with shock. They never expected Uchiha Ci to turn on the doctor who had healed him, but Shennong simply shook his head, and a burst of turbulent air exploded from his body. Forbidden technique, physical regeneration, forbidden technique, 8 gates released formation, 6th gate of joy, open. Then, he tilted his head to avoid the kunai coming straight at him. He raised his right hand and flicked his fingers. Bump, starred at a sonic boom rang from his fingertip. It was as if a level 8 gale had struck them head-on. Uchiha Ci felt like he'd been hit by a sledgehammer and went flying. A notification appeared in front of him. Clang. "You fought valiantly against Shennong, leader of the empty ninja village, and gained a random skill from him. Forbidden technique, physical transformation, mastery, incomplete. Your heart steel rating has increased." Boom. Boom. Boom, Uchiha Ci bounced across the ground, carving a deep trench. Cough. Hack. He spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling like his insides were all twisted up. He was still way too inexperienced to take on the top ninja in the world, but before Uchiha could react, a hand landed on his chest, glowing a bright green, and slowly realigned Uchiha Ci's dislocated organs and healed the bleeding gash that Shennong had created. This was Palm Sage technique, an incredibly advanced medical ninjutsu. Uchiha couldn't even speak. Dude, if you're gonna beat me, just finish the job, okay? What's the point of healing me after? He looked at Shennong, who seemed completely unfazed, and asked in frustration, why? Why? Shennong raised an eyebrow. Why didn't you kill me? Why do you keep saving me? Uchiha stared at him, his eyes cold. Would you care if an ant punched you? Shennong shook his head, then, he sighed heavily. If you really want to know, it's probably because seeing you reminds me of the past. I also have a home I want to return to, but I can't. Huh? Uchiha Ci knew that he was talking about the empty ninja village that Konoha had destroyed. It was because his home had been destroyed that this man wanted to gather power and seek revenge on Konoha. Uchiha sighed and swatted Shennong's hand away, preventing him from continuing the treatment. Then, he glared at Shennong and gave him a cruel smile. I'll take you at your word for now. But if you dare to attack either of them behind their backs, I'll make you wish you were dead. Trust me, I mean what I say. Forbidden technique, physical transformation was similar to Tsunade's creation rebirth, which constantly healed damage. But the difference was that the Yin seal consumed chakra, while physical regeneration consumed life force. That's why it was classified as a forbidden technique. With this technique, combined with the fire style and chakra mode, Uchiha Ci estimated that it would give him 5 more seconds of fighting time. 5 seconds with that level of power was enough to pierce the Angkor fortress, the incomplete Zero Tail's body, and Shennong himself. Haha. Shennong didn't respond, assuming that Uchiha was just blowing hot air. Chapter 40 Bounty Hunter, Ceremony Unveiled. You are listening at unveiled.audio. Uchiha sighed and stood. He glanced around at his 3 teammates, ready to roll out. Something felt off. There was Mei Terumi, the Kirigakure prodigy with dual bloodlines, known as Mei of the Moonlit Palace. Then Shennong, the calm ninja village mastermind, was hiding in plain sight, traveling the ninja world as a doctor. And last but not least, Haydn, a future Akatsuki member, currently just a wild kid. The lineup was enough to make anyone scratch their head. How did they end up together? Whatever. Let's move out. Target, Evil God Cult Headquarters. Haydn, you lead the way. Meanwhile, not far from Tangyen City, in the Evil God Cult's underground square, the bishop watched impassively. He watched as his followers dragged terrified civilians from Tang country. They were tying them to crosses, firewood piled at their feet. The cultists grinned as they grabbed awls, iron chains, and nails from racks filled with torture instruments. They were gearing up for the grand Evil God ritual. He suddenly felt a sense of absurdity and boredom. He turned and pulled out a necklace bearing the Evil God cult symbol. He stared at it blankly for a long time. Then, a black-robed cult leader knelt behind him, reporting anxiously. Your Excellency Bishop, the 3 elites we sent to retrieve the child are dead. So they're dead. The bishop was unmoved, showing no reaction. He was clearly used to it. He turned his head, glanced at the cultist with lavender eyes, and said casually. That's just how this country is. Death everywhere, chaos everywhere. You ninjas, nation ninjas, samurai, commoners, nobles, even the daimyo, they all get killed one day for no reason. Haven't you figured out this tragic reality? This pointless era? But, Lord Bishop, the leader looked up slightly. What about the child we need for the ceremony? That the bishop glanced into the shadows. Leave it to the professionals. A bald man with a thick beard stepped out, a smile on his face. The bishop's right. That's what our underground exchange is for. Kidnapping, blackmail, bounties, intel, assassinations, we can even make you a noble of this country tomorrow. As long as you can pay the price, we're at your service. The bishop closed his eyes. How long to get me someone? That the bald man smiled. Don't worry. We've already been persuading the villagers from that village and we've found out where the kid who killed your members is. This is a high-priority job. Our top bounty hunters are already on their way. Half a day, tops. We'll get that kid named Haydn back for you, guaranteed. Good, that's all. The bishop waved his hand dismissively. Miscellaneous mirror, take him to get the deposit. The cult member called Jing Si nodded and then asked hesitantly, Lord Bishop, what if the guy who kidnapped Haydn comes back and kills me? The bishop held the necklace to his forehead, an emotionless voice spoke, someone will take care of it. Jing Si, we're just a normal church that believes in gods. Don't always jump to killing to solve problems. Just then, a cultist nearby, holding an iron nail, grinned and stabbed an eyeball out of one of the tied-up people. A blood-curdling scream echoed from behind the crosses, one after another. Even the bald man, who was used to the dark side of the ninja world, was taken aback. The smile froze on his face. Normal church my ass, is that how they worship? Whoa, you're saying this is the evil god cult headquarters? You sure it isn't the Yuno country daimyo's palace? Perched on a cliff, Uchiha looked at the massive castle built on the hill below, genuinely surprised. If Haydn hadn't specifically said this was the heretic cult's headquarters, he'd have sworn it belonged to a Tang country noble. Yeah, well, it's kinda the same. Yu Ninja Village built this with the help of a Yu country noble. You know Yu Ninja, they rarely get good missions. They're basically like those samurai who've seen better days, almost private soldiers for the Yu country daimyo and nobles. Haydn explained, pointing at the castle below and shaking his head. But there's a difference. Uchiha followed his gaze. Beyond the opulent castle was a sprawling shantytown, stretching for miles. Refugees from Yu country huddled there, packed together in the wind, unable to sleep. It was basically a giant refugee camp. It was a dark night, the sky offering no light. The team had traveled for 3 hours. Judging by the time, it should be almost dawn, but in early spring, the days were short, and the night still had some time to go. So, what's the plan? Haydn asked, tilting his head, adding, I came here once when the evil god cult was leading me. Don't underestimate this place. The guards are super tight, especially near the underground headquarters cave. There's a post every few steps. Plus, the evil god cult has hired tons of warriors and refugees as spies. Sneaking in from the refugee camp near the city gate is a no-go. They'd be alerted in seconds. And who knows how many ninja the evil god cult has working for them. Haydn wasn't even a genin yet, so he couldn't sense ninjutsu. Everyone just looked like a normal person to him. He'd only known Uchiha was a ninja because of his injury and the Konoha dog tag. He couldn't get any further information. Uchiha nodded, stroking his chin. A surge of excitement coursed through him. He was a true man, so naturally he wanted to make as much noise as possible when doing a job. As long as he killed everyone, no one would ever know he had been there. Sunglasses on, gold teeth gleaming. JPG, Uchiha turned to his teammates with a determined look. I'll draw the enemy's attention, and you guys can use the opportunity to sneak in and open the city gate. Then we charge straight in. If you stand in the way of a man, you die. If you stand in the way of a god, you die. Once we get into the underground cave, I'll seal the door with a barrier to block reinforcements. How's that? A perfect plan, right? His teammates weren't impressed. Are you for real? Mei Terumi couldn't help but chop Uchiha's forehead. We're ninjas. We're ninjas. You think this is a circus? Then, Mei pointed at the cliff and the castle, connecting them with 2 slender fingers. We can drop from this cliff to the city wall. It's a bit high, but we can walk on trees. After checking out the layout on the city wall, we can climb down. We attract as little attention as possible. Mei's plan got nods from the others, but Uchiha shook his head. You're missing something. We can climb down. Climbing, running down the cliff, no problem. But, Uchiha slapped his little brother's shoulder, grinning. This kid probably doesn't know tree walking or water walking. Uchiha looked at Haydn, raised an eyebrow, and asked. So what's the play? Should we leave him here?